What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Fireside Rangers. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, joined by my co-host, Eric Wilson. Couldn't find him on the screen there, but the New York Rangers, they are dominating right now. They're breaking records, 4 franchise records set over this past weekend. They're on a real roll with a big shutout win over Nashville. Yaroslav Halak looked like one of the best goalies in the NHL. He and Igor Shesterkin maybe making a push for being the best goalie tandem in the NHL right now. The fourth line looks great. The first line looks great. All of the lines are clicking right now. The New York Rangers are on a roll. And right now, if you're looking at the standings, they are third in the Metropolitan Division. They have 92 total points. New Jersey right ahead of them at 97. And Carolina, who the Rangers play tonight, at 98. The Rangers playing Carolina tonight and Thursday night. If they're able to pull away with 2 wins in those 2 games, it would be pretty big for the Rangers as they continue to push for the second and maybe even the first seed in the Metro Division. We just broke down how the Rangers could end up winning the division on our last episode, so make sure to click onto the channel. Go check that one out if you haven't already. And we're going to go ahead and dive into the Rangers' dominant stretch, how they can keep it going for the rest of the regular season and into the playoffs. But before we do, make sure to leave a like if you do enjoy this episode and subscribe to the channel if you're new and ring the bell so you don't miss an episode. But without further ado, Eric, how are you doing today, and how are you feeling after a dominant stretch from the New York Rangers?
I'm doing good, and it feels great to see that the Rangers are really succeeding all over the ice. There hasn't been like a single problem I've had to complain about in a while now, which, it's a good feeling. It's all good vibes up in here for all Rangers fans. And, after the trade deadline, we went through a little bit of a slump. We were like, did we make the right trades? How long is it going to take for everything to click? We're finally seeing what it's like to have this full team together when it works, and man, it feels good.
Yeah, it does. And you know who's feeling really good is K'Andre Miller. He is the first New York Rangers defenseman in the history of the franchise to post 4 points in a single period. He had 2 goals and 2 assists in the first period against Nashville. Utterly dominant performance from him. And we've talked a lot about the Rangers defensemen. You said prior to the season that you felt like Adam Fox had a chance to be the team's leading point scorer going into the year. And now we're seeing Adam Fox, K'Andre Miller, they're playing at their A game. And keep in mind, Ryan Lindgren is expected to return tonight against Carolina. That'll be huge for the team. We've got some stats about Lindgren, how the Rangers play with him, how they play without him. We'll dive into that in a second. But Eric, what are your thoughts on K'Andre Miller, that dominant performance that he had against Nashville, and how you feel he's been playing really over the past couple of weeks?
I mean, it's been incredible. When he had his 3-game suspension just like a week or 2 ago, it was really like made clear just how much of an impact Miller has on this team. His presence was like really lacking when he wasn't playing for the team, and I kind of realized how important he is. Now he's come back and he's playing dominantly, like he had it kind of just like a nice little rest for him. So how he came back to the team fully rested, ready to play, and he's been incredible. And just to see that he's the first defenseman to post 4 points in a single period, that's like honestly pretty shocking to me, because throughout the Rangers history, we've had some incredible defensemen. You look at guys like Brian Leetch back in the 90s, all the amazing things that he did for the team. So the fact that K'Andre Miller is going above and beyond, doing things that even he couldn't do, it just really goes to show how impressive he is. And, it probably won't happen this season, but in the coming seasons, if Miller keeps to improve his game and play like this, I could see him being a future Norris winner.
Yeah, me as well. And I like what you said there about how his absence was really felt by the Rangers when he was suspended for those 3 games. And I will say we've really felt the absence of Ryan Lindgren over the past few years, not just this season, but if you take a look at Ryan Lindgren, now I know that the Rangers, they're hot right now without Lindgren in the lineup, but we all know how great this team is going to be, even better than they are right now with Lindgren back in the lineup. And I've got some stats to back that up if you take a look at it. Since January of 2019, here's the Rangers record with Lindgren in the lineup and without. So again, this is dating back 3 years ago. The record with him is 146, 80, and 25. Without Lindgren in the lineup, it's 21, 30, and 9. Points percentage, .631 with, .425 without. Goals allowed per game, 2.71 compared to 3.23 without him in the lineup. Penalty kill percentage, 80.5, only drops down to 79.3 without Lindgren in the lineup. But really, the main difference to me, like those main stats that really jump out on the statistics sheet that I'm looking at, the points percentage, I mean, significantly decreases by 0.200%. And then if you're looking at the goals allowed per game, from 2.71 with Lindgren in the lineup and 3.23 without him in the lineup, that's a huge, huge difference. I mean, when you're looking at Ryan Lindgren, Eric, and the impact that he's had on the Rangers over the past couple of years, he truly is one of the most important players on the New York Rangers, one of the most valuable players on this team. Having him back against Carolina tonight is going to be huge. So, Eric, how are you feeling about Lindgren finally making his return to the lineup? And what do you think that means for this team as they gear up for the postseason?
I mean, it's good to know that he's expected to come back and play again today. We know when he first injured himself, Gerard Gallant said he was going to be day-to-day, and that eventually just turned into like a week-to-week thing. And Gerard Gallant's the type of coach where he doesn't really reveal too much information. He just keeps saying he's going to be back soon, he's going to be back soon. And that's really all we get until we finally just see him back out on the ice. Even though he's expected to play, I won't believe it until I see him out there skating during warmups. So, but just to know that he's close, probably going to play today, it means a lot for this team. As you've read those stats, like, you can't really counter that. There's no counter argument. The stats don't lie. And even though Lindgren, he might not be the most skilled defenseman on the team, like Keandre Miller, like Adam Fox, he definitely serves as like the backbone of our defensive core. He's a really physical, gritty defenseman who focuses more defensively rather than like an offensive defenseman. And he really just brings a lot to the team. We saw it throughout last year's playoffs when he had a little bit of an injury early on. The Rangers did struggle. They fell pretty deep early to Pittsburgh. And then they were eventually able to make a 3-1 series comeback. And that really was just due to the fact that Lindgren came back and started carrying the team. He brings so much defensively and just a physicality, especially in the playoffs. If you're being too fancy, trying to skate around people, you're not going to make it far. The playoffs is a whole nother level. So to have him back, getting back into this groove right now with like 12 games remaining, he should be hot for the playoffs, and it's going to mean a lot to this team.
Yeah, it's going to be huge, and I really like, kind of the example that you brought up there with the last postseason and the impact that Lindgren made there. So getting him healthy for this final stretch of the regular season, going into the postseason, is huge. I'm happy that he's going to be in a groove once we hit the playoffs, and then he'll be ready to go and hopefully help this team carry its way deep into the postseason. And I will say, he is confirmed by Gerard Gallant to be playing tonight. It's not speculation now. Gerard Gallant said that he's playing. I get it. It's worrisome because he has been rumored to return. So I know you'll believe it when you see it, but Gerard Gallant says that he will be playing. Now, here's another thing to take note of. The Rangers also scored a franchise record or set a franchise record in this last game against Nashville by scoring 5 goals in the first 10 minutes and 1 second of a game. So that's really interesting to me because I think that one of the keys for the Rangers here to continue to dominate, continue to win these games is to start really strong, get off to really hot starts at the beginning of these games and kind of put themselves in a position to have a big lead, because we know that the Rangers in the past have had a lot of opportunities to close games and they kind of choke it. They kind of squander it. They get tired by the end of the game. But when your lead is that large in the first period, it's really, really tough to blow a lead like that. So I think that's one of the main things for the Rangers is to start hot. And how they do that, in my opinion, it's keeping that first line intact. So we're going to go over some keys here for the Rangers to keep this dominant run going. And I think that first line of Panarin, Zibanejad, Tarasenko, that's been phenomenal for the Rangers. If you take a look at some of these stats, and I'll read them off to you, Eric. In the last 10 games, Artemi Panarin with 4 goals and 9 assists, 13 total points in 10 games. Now looking at Zibanejad, also 13 points in 10 games, 6 goals, 7 assists. And Tarasenko with 9 points in the last 10 games, 3 goals, 6 assists. They have been dominating together. I love this first line combination. Now, originally, I was a bit skeptical. I wanted to keep everything intact. I kind of disagreed with Gerard Gallant switching the line so quickly after the Kane trade. He made the right call. That's why Gerard Gallant gets paid the big bucks. That's why he does what he does, because this first line has just been magical for the New York Rangers. Eric, what are your thoughts on this first line and really just the impact that it's had on the team?
I mean, like you read the stats, dude. It's an incredible line. Every single player on it is producing. And you're right. Like, we were a little bit skeptical when it was first put together. Me especially because, Panarin has been a little messy with his turnovers recently. Tarasenko is not really known for his defensive play. So it was like, well, they brought a lot to the table offensively. It kind of seemed like a defensive liability if the other team were to get the puck. But luckily, they've just clicked and worked so well that problem has kind of just been eliminated as of like recently. Like, sure, if they start to slow down a little bit, which is inevitable, like they're not going to keep being over point per game players for the entirety of the rest of the season and the postseason, but they're playing hot right now and they look really good. And I can't complain about it. Originally we thought we were going to see Panarin and Kane play together on that second line, but that originally wasn't working. Gerard Gallant made the smart decision, split them up, and now they're both thriving. Panarin is playing phenomenally up on the first line. Kane is doing really well down on the second line. I know within the last 4 games, their points together is 11 points. 2 players creating 11 points in 4 games, which is like that's like Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl level stats right there. So the first line is very, very good. Mika March obviously continuing. He's pretty much just scoring goals left and right. Can't really stop him. Nobody can stop him. And Panarin's doing what he does best. He's setting up plays. He's also starting to shoot the puck more. Panarin's been finding the back of the net as well recently. So that's always good to see. That helps his confidence, makes him play better. And then Tarasenko is just a great goal scorer. He's the only one on that first line that isn't over a point per game, but he's right there, 9 points in 10 games. So he's still producing on an elite level that's just like overshadowed by these other players that are also playing at elite levels, which is all you can ask for. You want everyone playing good.
Yeah, and something that you said there in terms of putting up shots from Panarin, right? He's actually taken more shots in the last 10 games than Mika Zibanejad has. He's put up 21 shots. Zibanejad put up 20. So I think that's a really important thing to point out because, yes, that was a criticism of Panarin during that rough stretch that the Rangers were in. He wasn't putting up the shots. He was being a little too fancy, holding on to the puck too long, trying to make that extra pass and forcing it, turning the puck over. But now, looking at it, he's got that aggression back. He's ripping those shots. It's interesting to see, though, with Vladimir Tarasenko, he's actually taken the most shots on that first line with 26 in total compared to Zibanejad with 20, Panarin with 21. One thing that tells me, though, Zibanejad, such a sniper, has the least amount of shots taken on that first line, has the most goals scored with 6. He's been utterly insane. Mika Magic in March. I love to see it. Now, here's a couple other records that the Rangers broke. This one first. First team this season to register 15 straight goals and counting. Now, this next stat, though, that I really want to just dive into, they're the 6th team in NHL history to register consecutive shootouts scoring at least 6 goals. Shutouts, sorry. Consecutive shutouts scoring at least 6 goals. And I think that's a big stat to take a look at, and there's a lot to draw from it. And 2 things that I really want to discuss here is, first of all, the performance of the goalies, and second of all, the defensive depth, because the Rangers have been without Lindgren, and recently they were without Keandre Miller, but they found a way to make it work. We've gotten some big minutes out of Ben Harper, gotten some big minutes out of Nico Mikkola, and now with Lindgren coming back into the fold, plus seeing the way that Yaroslav Halak and Igor are playing right now, this team's defense is really, really solid. Like, we were talking recently about how the defense could be the bane of the Rangers' existence the postseason. Like, that could be their Achilles heel. Man, have they flipped that script. Two games in a row with complete shutouts while the offense is still producing with 6 goals. And of course, we know in this last game, 4 of those points were contributed by Keandre Miller. So the defense also contributing on offense. It's been something really magical to watch these defensemen get to work over the last couple of games. So Eric, how are you feeling, looking at that stat and kind of just watching the defense and these goalies play at such an elite level?
I mean, it's a very, very nice stat to see. Obviously, we had the back-to-back shutouts, one from Igor, one from Halak, and that just makes me confident as a Rangers fan. It probably makes Halak confident as well going in and getting such a big shutout like that, because obviously when we go into the postseason, Igor is going to be playing every single game as throughout that entire playoff run. But if something happens to Igor, we need to know that we have someone reliable that we can put in if need be. And I trust Halak now. We've seen what he can do. We know he started off the season a little rocky going into the game against Nashville. I'm pretty sure Halak's record was at an even like 500, like it was like 8-8 and like 2 or something like that. But so that's why I was like a little questionable on him. But then he just goes in and he posts up a huge shutout. I know Nashville was a little injury ridden, but it's still always good to see. I think it's safe to say that Igor and Halak probably, if not the first, within the top 3 goalie tandems in the entire league. And then it also just goes on to the defense as well. We were very critical about the defense. They were playing pretty poorly recently, but then as you mentioned, they just kind of flipped it around and became one of the better defensive cores in the entire league. And I know, especially me on this channel, I've been very, very critical on Nico Mikkola. I've been saying I don't want him in the lineup. He's looked terrible. But the last 2 games in these 2 shutouts, he looks really, really good. Could be because he's playing alongside Keandre Miller, or he just could be playing really good himself. But whenever Lindgren gets back to the lineup, which is supposed to be tonight, confirmed by Gallant, I'll believe it when I see it. Chances are it's going to be Fox and Lindgren again. They've always played together, Miller and Trouba, and then it'll probably be Schneider and Mikkola. Ben Harper is going to be the 7th defenseman rotated in, with depending on injury or anything like that. But I don't know. Looking at right now this defensive core, I am happy to see Nico Mikkola be that 6th defenseman down there on the 3rd line playing along Schneider. I think he's looked pretty decent recently, and my confidence in him has definitely returned.
Yeah, and if you take a look at how he's been playing recently and how frequently he's been playing, well, over the last 10 games, Nico Mikkola is playing on average 20.17 minutes of time on ice per game. So that's really interesting to me. He's also been pretty solid offensively. He's put up 15 shots over the last 10 games, which is a lot more than his counterpart, Braden Schneider, who's put up only 10 shots in the same amount of time. So Nico Mikkola, definitely a big surprise here, playing well. You also mentioned a lot about Yaroslav Halak, how well he's been playing. Do have some stats that are out there for that. Yaroslav Halak started his tenure with the Rangers going 1-6-1 with a GAA of 3.04 and a save percentage of .888 in his first 8 games. In his last 12 starts, he is 7-2-2 with a GAA of 2.38 and a save percentage of .916, including the shutout against Nashville most recently. I mean, just an incredible turnaround from Yaroslav Halak. You said it. Maybe the best goalie tandem in the NHL right now. They're certainly playing like it. And listen, I mean, the defense has really just turned things around. The goalies have been great. The defense has been really, really impressive. But another thing for the New York Rangers that has also been super, super impressive is their ability to kill the penalty. Now, the Rangers' power play hasn't been the best. This weekend against Pittsburgh and against Nashville, they went 1 for 4 in each of those games, so 2 for 8 in total on the power play. But their penalty kill, 100% success. Now, obviously, shutout, so duh. But they against Nashville, they only faced one penalty, and they were 1 for 1 killing that penalty. And then against on Saturday versus Pittsburgh, 5 for 5 on the penalty kill. Eric, we've talked about special teams a lot for the New York Rangers. It's got to be really exciting to see how well they've been doing on special teams here.
Yeah, I mean, we'll start with the penalty kill. Like, obviously, perfect back-to-back shutouts, like you mentioned, and like one of like the smaller stats like within that is the fact that against Nashville, we did only take one penalty that we needed to kill off, and that's going to be extremely important as we move forward throughout the last 12 games and into the postseason, where you really need to limit the amount of penalties that you're taking. You know, if we were to go through every single game of the playoffs only taking one penalty per game, that would be like a perfect world scenario, you know, because we're going to be playing against a lot of teams that have a lot of offensive star power, like Carolina, like New Jersey, Boston, Toronto. There's a lot of great teams in the East that like are in our path to get to the finals, and we really don't want to see them on that many power plays. You know, obviously against Pittsburgh, we were a little sloppy. We took a little bit of penalties by having to go 4 for 4. But we do know we can see now that against a team who does have a lot of offensive star power and will probably be in the playoffs, we can kill off a lot of their penalties. So it's very good to see that the Rangers penalty kill is playing at like an elite level right now, as well as the power play. Honestly, you know, 1 for 4, it doesn't sound that good, but you just compare it to other teams around the league. That's a 25% power play success rate in back-to-back games. That's like a decent stat. I don't have like a list of every team's power play stats right now, but I'm going to go ahead and assume that's like top 10 in the league right now. That's very, very good. So just to know that we can score on power plays and we can stop teams from scoring against us on power plays, extremely important as we move into this phase of the season.
Yeah, this final phase of the season, super big time. And of course, heading into the postseason, that's also going to be really huge for the New York Rangers. Another thing, though, before we wrap, I want to talk about just the performance of some of these guys in the last 5 games. Panarin, 7 points in the last 5. Zibanejad, 9 points in the last 5. Tarasenko, 4 points in the last 5. And of course, the Rangers scoring 22 goals in their last 4 games. Literally just incredible stats to take a look at there. Also, keep in mind, Patrick Kane has been playing really well. He's really started to come into his own, looks a lot more comfortable now than he did in his first couple of games with the Rangers. I guess all that practice that he was saying that he desperately wanted to have with the team has really paid off, because Patrick Kane has looked like the superstar that the New York Rangers were hoping to get when they traded for him. So, Eric, before we wrap, what are your thoughts on just how well and how dominant the offense has been over the last 5 games, and what's the key to maintaining that pace and keeping that up over this last stretch of the regular season?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just momentum and confidence. You know, we got something good going. We just need to really just keep playing with this level of confidence that we've seen. You know, Philip Hedl was having a huge goal drought. He went and broke that. That definitely boosts his confidence. Hopefully tonight against Carolina, we'll see him out there looking like he's ready to score another one. Capo Caco had a couple of assists as well. Lafreniere, I think, was the only one on the kid line who didn't register a point against Nashville, but he still looked really good out there. Like you said, Patrick Kane is finally fitting in. He's looked very good. Trocheck is another one we've like not really talked about recently, but he's like quietly been registering points. You know, he's right there up like very close for like the team lead in points. Kreider's been scoring goals left and right as well. It's just everyone is contributing. The fourth line, even Tyler Mott's had a couple of goals as well. It's just, that's the biggest thing. It's confidence, momentum, and depth. You know, everyone is contributing right now, and that's why we're putting up 22 goals in 4 games, you know, and that's what we need moving forward. We need to just score more goals than them, and we're just doing that at such an incredible margin that it's just perfect. Just keep it up. Go
Yeah, and
team.
to highlight a couple things before we wrap that you just mentioned, Trocheck, 10 assists in 10 games over the last 10. So, I mean, a point per game player right there. Kreider with 7 goals over the last 10. He's also been amazing. And Kane, 3 goals, 4 assists, 7 goals in the last 10 games. That second line has also been incredible. We talked early on in this episode about the first line. The second line has been great as well. We know that the kid line has been struggling, but they're starting to pick it up. Lafreniere with 3 goals over the last 10 games. Didn't register a point against Nashville, as you mentioned, but Hedel did. He had a goal, and he has 1 goal and 2 assists over the last 10. Kako with 2 assists over the last 10. And one player that you just mentioned that I think we really need to hit on is Tyler Mott, because he has been literally just so good for the Rangers, considering his time on ice average per game is 8 minutes and 24 seconds, and he has 3 points over the last 10 games. Like, think about that. 2 goals, 1 assist, 8.24 minutes. I mean, the next closest player is VC, who's got over 11 minutes per game. This guy, Mott, is barely on the ice, but when he is, he makes every second that he's out there count. So, Tyler Mott, shout out to you, good sir. You've been playing great. The leading point scorer over the last 10 games on that fourth line, despite playing 3 minutes less per game than the next guy, Barclay Goodrow, with 13 minutes per game, over 13 minutes per game. So, I mean, Tyler Mott, I just think it's incredible that he has literally 5 less minutes on ice per game than Barclay Goodrow, but still has more points than him somehow. So Tyler Mott, again, he has been really impactful for the Rangers. That has to be one of the most underrated midseason acquisitions that the Rangers have made this season. I mean, we talk about the Kane trade, the Tarasenko trade. Those were big time, but acquiring Tyler Mott, low-key getting swept under the radar because he has just been phenomenal for the New York Rangers, but so is everyone. Everyone is playing great right now. It's a dominant stretch that the New York Rangers are on. Again, playing Carolina tonight. Big game for us because Carolina with 98 total points, Rangers at 92 in third place. But a couple wins this week against Carolina, keep the momentum going into next week. Who knows, man? The Rangers really could make a final push for the second, maybe even the first seed in the Metro Division. It's going to be really exciting. Of course, we're going to be updating you on everything New York Rangers right here on Fireside Rangers. So make sure to subscribe to the channel if you are new and ring the bell so you don't miss an episode. Please leave a like if you did enjoy this episode and comment your thoughts on the New York Rangers' recent performances down below. We will catch you all in the next one. Have a good one, and let's go Rangers.